another edition of BNA Sports Podcast. I uploaded one last week, and I was going to do like back-to-back, but I decided to put a little bit more effort into it. We're doing another episode of BNA Sports Podcast. This is part 2 of the 2-part series. Wow, it's over. It's over just when you thought it was starting. But today we have some fun segments lined up. Like as always, we're going to do where I was right, where I was wrong. Some other fun segments that we're going to get into later in this video. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, review on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. But without further ado, let's just begin and let's just roll on with it. Okay, so let's start off like we always do, where I was right, where I was wrong. And when I was going through this, I'm like, yeah, I was off on a decent bit of things this year, but we're going to start off where I was right. We start off on a high note. That's how I like starting things. I said Jason Garrett was a bad signing to begin with because what was up with him in Dallas? Kellen Moore started calling plays. He didn't call plays for like 10 years. Air Coryell, I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And he stunted Daniel Jones' growth. He's done some creative things over, the past couple of weeks, especially in the beginning. We saw some things against the Dallas Cowboys, doing some screens. He doesn't quite have the talent necessary. The offensive line is weak. He's not really working with much, but I think, in all honesty, it's time to move off of Jason Garrett. We've seen guys, Sean McVay, he's able to move the pocket with Jared Goff, and Jared Goff is able to succeed. I made a whole video about it, and I go through everything. It's one of my more recent videos. I uploaded it on the 30th. I'm not sure when I'm uploading this video, but so I was also right about the Patriots, because I said they really don't have a bunch of talent on this team. Like, do you think Cam Newton really is going to come off an injury? I'm like, he may surprise some people. He may play kind of well. But he doesn't have the wide receiver talent, dropping balls, all these certain things. But I say that pretty much every episode. I just want to brag about why I was right about the Patriots. I'm like, no way they win this division. But I was wrong about the Bills. We'll get that later. I was right about Carson Wentz, though. I came out with a video in the middle of the summer, like, did we just forget that, Carson Wentz's narrative coming into the season was, you can't beat Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has the better weapons in a way, but, Carson Wentz can't overcome that. Carson Wentz beats Derek Carr once, and all of a sudden he's the Lord and Savior. He has had problems in the locker room with addressing Nick Foles. Nick Foles completely took over the locker room. Carson Wentz was never able to do that. It may just be a personality problem with him. Now, I don't think it's just really tough where you go from here. Like Jalen Hurts, do I see him as a 6-7 year starter in the league? No. I just don't at this point. Maybe I'll be wrong about that. Maybe he'll end up being like the next great Pro Bowler. Hopefully not, because the Giants are in that division. But yeah, I said Carson Wentz in the summer. I was just like, let's all calm down about Carson Wentz here. He did it against the Bengals in Cincinnati. He lost to Dolphins at the end of last year. It was just a complete mess. And so I was right about Carson Wentz. I'm like, people were acting like he was a top 10 quarterback. I'm like, in the video, I'm like, he's closer to 16, 17. And we see now he's closer to 27, 28. And so overall, he's a broken quarterback. The next thing I was right about was Derek Carr. I came out with a video saying why Derek Carr can be a top 10 quarterback. I think we'd all agree he's somewhere around 9 or 10. I think he's a little bit better than Kirk Cousins, not as mobile. He has similar struggles to a Kirk Cousins, but at least he's not a system guy. With Kirk Cousins, he has that one offense that he runs, and you're like, okay, that's pretty much it. What can he do extra? And the answer is not that much, just to say the least. So Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback, and I was right about that. I had a 2-part series about that. I see a little bit of trend here, a lot of 2-part series that I'm doing. And then where I was wrong, I said Aaron Rodgers is going to have 24 touchdowns this year. He has, I think, around 40, and I said he'd have like 3,800 yards. Yeah, he's well eclipsed. Not that by that much, but yeah, I said he'd struggle this year. I came out with a video saying why Aaron Rodgers will struggle. The main premise is I didn't think that they surrounded him with the offensive line talent. I thought, they lost one of their long-time left tackles, and he went to the Chargers. And I said, Dave Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, I like them, but, they have one of the best centers now, and I think his name is Lindsley. But, his wide receiver talent, I didn't love that. I thought that A.J. Dillon was a little bit overrated. I'm like, Aaron Jones, I don't know about him. Like, all of a sudden, your running back goes down, and I'm not too sure what he was. But, man, I was completely wrong about that. Aaron Rodgers deserves to be the MVP. I was also wrong about the Bills. I had them winning the division, but I had them 9-7. I didn't trust Josh Allen. Let me tell you, he grew up. And there was a story about him in the winter just grinding and working. This year really showed which guys are going to work hard, like LeBron James, which guys are going to work on their craft, and which guys are kind of just lazy. And we've also been some question marks with like Cam Newton. Was he working hard or was he just trying to build his brand? Daniel Jones and kind of like, was it real excuses? And we've seen guys like Dwayne Haskins. He decided to go to strip clubs even though he wasn't allowed to. So it's been a real equalizer and a real shower. And then next, Andrew Thomas. I was wrong about Andrew Thomas. I think he's going to be a Lane Johnson. I think he's going to be solid. But I thought he was the next greatest thing when he was coming out. I kind of held back right before the season, but I said I didn't like Tristan Wirfs. I didn't like Mekhi Becton. Now, some of the things are true. I'm like, he's big. Mekhi Becton's big. He has a weight problem. Like, that's way too many question marks. Like, he has some highlights. He'll put on some film. But overall, I think Tristan Wirfs is going to end up being the best tackle in this draft. I think Mekhi Becton's going to continue with some problems, but we've seen Thomas not that much better than even an Austin Jackson. Against the elite talent, he still struggles to bend around that edge. And I was watching a video by this Eagles guy, Greg Cosell was talking about it. You have to be a pass protector first. And a tackle, he has to be able to be on an island. Andrew Thomas is not that great on an island. He's good with like up on the line and pushing, but he's like midway between a guard and a tackle. But he'll be fine. He's not going to be an Eric Flowers. He's going to learn. He's going to play. He's not going to be a problem. Overall, that's like that. And yeah, that's where I was right, where I was wrong. I'm not going to start rambling for 10 minutes about where I was right, where I was wrong. Let's get into the next segment. Welcome to the coaching dating game. This is an annual tradition where we predict which teams are going to fire their coaches, which this really should be made after Black Monday, but you kind of have a feeling which teams are going to fire which coaches, and then we predict where they are going to land. Not the old coaches, the new coaches, the Brian Dabolls of the world. So let's get right into it with the Chargers. So I think they're going to fire Anthony Lynn. They're going to end the season off 4-0 to finish 7-9. But it's going to be a kumbaya. Like, Anthony Lynn, you weren't good enough, but we're not going to fire you. We're just going to let you walk out the door. And I think Brian Daboll is the guy. Now, there are a lot of rumors about Eric Bieniemy being the head coach of the Chargers, but it's in division. And I don't love it. The Chiefs are going to know exactly what you're going to do. But Brian Daboll, he has Josh Allen, similar skill set. Teach Justin Herbert to have a little bit more touch on his balls. That just sounded weird. But so I think that this would be a brilliant hire by the Chargers. Now, you have another brilliant offensive mind in LA, so they'll kind of be head-to-head. I like the narrative going into the season. Make the fan base excited. Go all in on Justin Herbert. Go up and draft an offensive lineman, Alex Leatherwood, in the first round. And you have a decent amount of weapons. You have Derwin James coming back. I like the future with the Chargers, but this is not a Chargers preview. We're talking about a coach preview. And the next coach, I think, is Robert Saleh, and he is going to go to the Detroit Lions. Now, they just got rid of a defensive coach, and usually when you fire a coach, you go opposite. So the Giants' offensive mind, go Joe Judge. The Jets had a defensive-minded guy, then they go an offensive-minded guy. And, you have these ebbs and flows and different things like that. But I think that the Lions would be smart to get a Robert Saleh. It feels if Detroit loves him, they want him. And if he feels appreciated there, I think it would be a good decision. I don't think it's 100%. I think it's like a 90% proposition right here. You have some other teams that are looking to get a Robert Saleh, but I just think that this is the best thing. Now, we have Matthew Stafford. He is most likely not going to be on the team next year. That's just my whole opinion about it. But I don't know. I think you have to get the defensive guy. I don't care if you bring a new quarterback as a rookie. We saw teams with the defensive coaches with quarterbacks as rookies not really work out. With Patrick Mahomes, he had offensive coordinator. But with Sam Darnold, he had Todd Bowles. And it didn't really work out that much. We saw with Jared Goff, it didn't really work out that much. But I'm leaning towards the Lions getting a Robert Saleh. Next person on my list, next team, is the Falcons. I think they're going to go with the Raheem Morris, Louis Riddick combo. Can have the Raheem Morris, Louis Riddick combo. Now, here's why. Louis Riddick actually played for the Falcons. I did a little bit of like a research thing. He played for the Falcons. I think he's going to like Raheem Morris. He said some glowing things about him in the past. He's like, this guy's a fighter. What he's also said was how embarrassing some other teams have been, like the team not fighting. I think that Raheem Morris has shown enough to him that Atlanta, it's a majority black city. And I don't know if this just turned racial, but it's a majority black city. It's a high black population, that culture. I think he's going to fit into that. Man, this is sounding like insensitive, no, but I think he's going to really fit into that. He's from Pittsburgh. It's a stone's throw away from Pittsburgh, just a long stone's throw. It's it's a little bit of a hike. But he's from Pennsylvania, growing up. And, there have been rumors about the Giants and things like that. But ultimately, I think he's going to take the Atlanta job because he sees the future with his team. The defense all of a sudden is playing better. You have a good offensive line. And he said in an interview, I want a team that has a future. Now, he gets to choose his quarterback. He has Matt Ryan for now, for the next year or two. But you get to choose the next guy. You can even decide to move off from Matt Ryan after this year. A little bit of a break there. But we're going to the next person, the next team, the Jets. I think... Man, it's between John Harbaugh and Eric Bieniemy. I really do think that Eric Bieniemy is going to get a job, but no other teams really fit it, maybe besides the Texans. So I would say I would like Dan Mullen or a college person to be on this team for like a little bit of a leadership kind of role. But ultimately, I think that Joe Douglas is going to pick a guy in Eric Bieniemy to go all in on whoever he decides to have at quarterback, a guy that's be able to teach and groom their quarterback. Now, this is the one I was most confused about. Again, I would think the Jets should go more college. I'd keep Sam Darnold. Keep on drafting and do those sort of things. But Sam Darnold still needs development. He's not a finished product. With a Trevor Lawrence, you can kind of get away with not having an offensive mind. But not with Sam Darnold. You need a guy that's going to be able to teach him. Adam Gase did a horrible job. Sam Darnold literally came into the office one day and said, can you give me the playbook, please? I'm struggling here. I want to do more plays. I want to expand my knowledge. And Adam Gase wasn't able to do that. So next on my list is the Texans. I think they're going to go after Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis kept on consistently making the playoffs. And after what J.J. Watt said about this team fighting, I think they're going to hire kind of like a leader, a guy that's going to be, okay, let's kind of like what the Astros did in the time of crisis. You bring in a guy, Dusty Baker, who's going to create everything even and kind of settle things. Now, the thing is with the Astros, they had a lot of talent. The Houston Texans don't. They have J.J. Watt, the leader, Deshaun Watson. They're on rock bottom right now. It's them, the Lions, and a couple other teams that are almost at rock bottom here. And they have no first-round draft pick. I'm pretty sure they don't have a second-round draft pick, or they have 2 second-round. I forget the exact things, but it's just embarrassing for the Houston Texans, and you got to create a little bit more stability with this organization. I think McNair goes for a solid, steady hire, somebody that's going to be old, somebody that's going to be reliable, not rock the boat a lot. And then finally, the Jaguars. I don't think the Bears are going to need a head coach. I initially thought so, and then there are no really other teams that are going to be firing. I think the Denver Broncos keep what's his name? Vic Fangio. But let's get on to the Chargers. The Jaguars. I think it's Urban Meyer. Now, here's why. So, Urban Meyer, they say he has like a heart condition. He can't deal with losing. But what he does well is recruit. And I think in free agency, he'll be really good at it. But in the NFL, it's different from college. Usually, when he was in Ohio State, he was used to having the best roster. And all of a sudden, you lose a game. You lose 2 5-star recruits. All of a sudden, you lose a game to Michigan, which they didn't do, but you lose a game to Harbaugh, and Harbaugh gets the prospects. It's like, oh yeah, this coach is a winner. But with the Jaguars, I think he's going to be a Jaguars coach. It's from Florida. It's something that's comfortable. I live in Jacksonville. I'm not going to welcome it completely, but you'd have a Trevor Lawrence. You wouldn't have to deal with a lot of the ins and outs, the college personality. I think he's going to get used to it. I think he's going to dip his foot in the water. I think Jacksonville would be a great place, but I'm not ruling out them keeping their current head coach because that's what it seems like a lot. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say Urban Meyer is going to be a head coach next year, and then Jacksonville will be the destination. Just a stone's throw. Literally a stone's throw for me. I said stone's throw twice in the same segment. That's crazy. But let's move on to the next segment. That's the official theme song, if you didn't know, for Best Bets. No, it's not. But so we're going to do my best bets. So far this year, we are 5-4, about-ish, maybe 4-5. But I'm going to say 5-4 for the benefit of the doubt. Give me some kudos. 55%. We can almost be professional bettors here. No, but we're not. What we're aiming for is 3 picks this week. Anthony's 3. We're going to get him right. That's the goal for this week. Let's see how we do. The first game that I'm looking at is Jacksonville at Indianapolis. The beginning of the year, Jacksonville was an 8-point underdog. Obviously, they won. And ever since then, they're on a 14-game losing streak. So Jacksonville has a little bit on Indianapolis. Indianapolis might be like a revenge game. Like, we lost. They're not going to overlook Jacksonville, especially since they're fighting for a playoff spot. But I think it's too rich. Take a look at the beginning line. It was -8. In the beginning of the season, that's when the Jaguars, lost or won. They beat Indianapolis. Now Indianapolis is favored by 14 points, which is a 6-point swing, which if you adjust for home field, that's about a 3-point swing from the beginning of the year. What are your thoughts about Indianapolis since the beginning of the year? It's about even, isn't it? It's like, okay, the defense are playing better, but like it's overall just an average defense. DeForest Buckner makes it look way better when he's playing. But then you take a look at the Jaguars. We thought they were tanking in the beginning of the year. What are they fighting for this week? They're not going to tank this week. What's the goal for them tanking? To be 1-15 instead of 2-14? So they're going to look to play spoiler. What does worry me, they are away. So maybe just, we're going to take the rest of the season. What is their coaching situation like? What is the inside the locker room like? All these players just going to give up. They're starting that, not Blaine Gabbert, whoever, they're starting their backup instead of Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew really does well against that zone defense that the Colts love to play. So I'm a little bit concerned, but I'm picking Jaguars -14. It's a division rival. The Jaguars, I don't think are just going to sit down. It's the last time they're going to play football until September. And I don't think they fall asleep. I think that Jacksonville may even win outright. They are 8-1 right now. I got them 8-1 right now. It's around 7.5 to 1. Next pick is the Minnesota Viking -7. I'm very concerned about this as well, but in a different way from the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm picking the favorite here. Minnesota would be a 10-point favorite at home. Not too sure. The coaching staff, majority of it's coming back. Matthew Stafford's back. Dalvin Cook's dad, unfortunately, passed away at 46, which I can't really feel for him because I have no idea what it feels like. I couldn't even imagine. His dad was a young man at 46 years old. So that's unfortunate for him. But on a more positive note, the Minnesota Vikings are going to win this game by more than 7 points. Now, with Minnesota, they have a smart coach in Mike Zimmer. They got embarrassed. When you ever get a team that gets embarrassed, Alvin Kamara just completely stomping on them, expect them to show more effort. You have these rookies now, they're no longer rookies. They're pretty much second-year players. They've had extended rest, albeit 2 extra days, but I think they really come to fight for this game. Detroit has had 8 days rest. Minnesota has 9, so it's not that big of an advantage. But the Detroit did get embarrassed as well, but I just don't think this team is talented. I really don't. This does concern me. Divisional rival. This week it's all divisional rivals, but divisional rivals. And I usually take the team that's getting the points. If there's 2 bad teams, this is going against my logic. If there are 2 bad teams, I go for the team that's getting the points. Like Houston versus Bengals, both teams suck. I'll take the points. It's going to be 7.5. I'll take the points. But this time, I think Minnesota, they're not that much worse than an average team. I have them on 2-3 points worse than an average team. But Detroit, are they the worst team in the league now? Them and the Texans? And then finally, I'm picking the Washington football team to win by more than 2.5 points. Why? Because I'm jinxing them, baby. I am jinxing the hell out of them. I think that they win. I think that the Eagles win. But I'm jinxing the hell out of them. I'm making my best bet. It's a win-win scenario for me. It's also a kind of a lose-lose scenario, depending on what happens in the Giants game. But I really do think that the Eagles pull it off. But I have to do my jinxing right here. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Low-scoring game usually leads to tighter scores, they say. But I'm like, Super Bowl is 13-3. Usually when a team gets dominated, they get dominated. When have you ever seen a game that's 7-6? No, usually you see a game that's like 20-10. You don't really see those tight scores when it's low scoring. You usually see tight scores when it's high scoring because the teams are going back and forth. So I don't really get that logic too much. Just a little bit of tidbit, just from a little bit of experience. I don't really have that much of analysis. This line is showing that Alex Smith is playing and he's going to be healthy. The Eagles have a good defensive line. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, playing fairly well. Kind of had a dud game last week against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not too sure whether they have a lot of momentum going into this game, but Jalen Hurts, he's going to play to win here. He's not tanking. It's not like a Carson Wentz, I have my job secure for next year. No, he's fighting for his job, but that's why I'm picking Washington, but I'm really picking the Eagles. Let's just move on to the next segment. And welcome to a new segment. This is going to be a little bit of a short one, but this is called Revisiting. This is where we revisit old takes, kind of takes that are developing. We don't know how the certain quarterback is going to last, and we have a take on it, and then we kind of see how it goes through time. So today, we are reacting to the Khalil Mack trade. Initially, I thought both teams were going to be fine. I thought the Raiders were smart by rebuilding, but the thing is, you have to nail the picks. And who did they get from him? Even with the Amari Cooper trade as well. They got Jonathan Abram. They got Josh Jacobs, who's decent, but first round running back isn't great. We've seen what some other running backs have done in later rounds, namely Seattle with Rashad Penny and Chris Carson. Rashad Penny was a first round pick, and then Chris Carson was a 7th round pick, and we all know how that turned out. And then with this year's pick, they drafted Damon Arnett. And he's a 4'6" cornerback. And you could be successful at a 4'5" because all you need is the right technique. Xavier Howard said it. He goes, I can make a 4'3" guy run a 4'5". It all depends on the right technique, the right way to defend people. But you drafted the wrong people. I think you could say the Bears won this trade because although Khalil Mack has been banged up, has been injured, he is the leader of this defense. He's the cornerstone of the defense. Now, Akeem Hicks needs to start playing better. His effort is lackluster. He has spurts where he shows a decent amount of effort, but he needs to have a bunch of effort. They lost Eddie Goldman. They lost a decent amount of their linebackers in the offseason. But when we take a look at it, Danny Trevathan is playing fairly well. And the corners, there's something you can always improve on. But Khalil Mack is the solid foundation of the team. Every year, he's a 10-sack guy. He just is. And he knows how to play the run. Even if he's injured, he knows how to defend. He's smart. He plays gap responsibility. And he's the leader for this defense. So right now, I'm leaning Khalil Mack as the winner of this trade. And we're going to revisit some other trades and in future episodes. Like, I'm looking forward to doing Mitch Trubisky. That trade, the 49ers made the Super Bowl last year, but they didn't win. And that'll be interesting to see that. And some other ones. Definitely do let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or on my Twitter at me, like what next you want to see. And let's move on to the next segment. Welcome to the next segment. Now, one of the videos I uploaded this summer that was really popular, I get like 3 videos a year that get this popular. I said Washington football team. What are they going to change their name to? Washington Redskins. I'll say Washington Redskins. What are they going to change their name to? Is it going to be the Washington Warriors? Is it going to be the Washington, instead of the Redskins, the Haskins or the Greenskins or the Blueskins? Get crazy. The Washington UFOs, the Washington, filibusters. I don't know. But yeah, I think as far as Washington, they may just keep Washington football team, but they definitely need to get, I'm going to make this segment on BNA Sports Instagram. They need to get new uniforms. They really do. I'm going to have a whole rant on there that I think you guys should enjoy. But for now, let's talk about the Cleveland baseball team. And that's one of the options that they have. I don't love it because I think people will warm to the idea of a Washington football team because it's new. It's like, yeah, why not? Cleveland already has that generic C to them. So you could say like, oh, yeah, that could kind of work. But yeah, so as far as the history of their team, they're the Cleveland Indians from 1915 to present. Before that, there were the Grand Rapid Hustlers from 94 to 99, being 1899. The Cleveland Lakeshores in 1900, Cleveland Bluebirds in 1901, Cleveland Broncos in 1902, and the Cleveland Naps in 1903 to 1914. Now, some popular name are the Cleveland Rocks, because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland. My thoughts about this, obviously they're not going to use one of their old names, like I don't think they're going to be the Naps or the Broncos, because that's already kind of taken. It'd be like naming rights. I'm not sure the whole thing about that. They're in Progressive Field. Then there's nothing really good name about that. The Progressives. But as far as the Rocks, yeah, that is kind of lame. Like they have the Rockies and then the Rocks. What's going to be your logo? The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You can be like. You can kind of phrase something a little bit like with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I feel like you can give that a tribute in some other way rather than just the Rocks. Maybe the Rock and Rollers, not really, but maybe do it a different way, the Blues, or like a tribute in that way rather than the Rocks, because, I don't know. The baseball team, again, we've already mentioned that as another name on my list. I should have just skipped that. That's my train of thought. Next, the Tribe. The Tribe would be a great name. You have the Chiefs. And as long as you don't have something reference to like Indian culture, I think you're fine. I mean, the Seminoles, and we all know these other programs, but they give back to the Native Americans or whatever, or at least allegedly they do, and they appreciate it. But the Tribe, like we're all together, we're banded. You can have a little bit thing like the Braves. I don't think the Braves is controversial. The chant is, but I don't think the Tribe. That would just be a nice way to transition, at least for a year or two. But honestly, you have time to think about it. It's not like Washington, where all of a sudden this came on out of nowhere, even though it was a thing years before. But it really just, I don't know. We're all worrying about coronavirus, and all of a sudden we're like, Washington, you have to change your name. It's like, what? Don't we have bigger things? Don't we have like a pandemic we need to solve? And like this is the thing that we want to do. We have a season with coronavirus. Oh, yeah, by the way, Washington, you also have to change your name and deal with this Haskins guy. But yeah, so as far as another name, the Redskins, It was already taken, but now it's free. Why not the Redskins? Yeah, but there are not really too many names. There's obviously the Spiders. That's a major name that people are thinking of. I just can't see it. It seems too minor leaguish to me, like the Aqua Frogs or like the Iron Birds. That doesn't really seem like a professional team name. It could work because you can have like the Web Gems and do like. You have a couple of things that you can reference with the Spiders, the Spider-Men, the Cleveland Spider-Men. But yeah, honestly, there aren't too many great ideas. You could go generic, like the Wildcats or something like that. But Cleveland is a historic city. I would make something that has to dedicate towards the city, not like the skyscrapers or something. The Lakers. No, so something that has to do with Cleveland. Make it personal. Make it something that has to do with the city. Don't go generic. Don't go Wildcats. Don't go. I guess Indians is also a pretty generic name as well. That's kind of like one of the ones where you see on every single team logo. Not the Eagles. One of my schools by me is like the Golden Eagles, not the Sharks. Not something. Have it something to do with Cleveland. You people from Cleveland have a better idea than I do. I think they should come up with a vote. Not Mr. Bodie McBoatface vote. Not something like that. We're name this boat Bodie McBoatface. Name it something that is serious, and it'll make people closer to the team. It'll make people very much closer to the team. And take a look at the rest of the names in this division. Yeah, they're weird. Did we realize that? The Tigers, generic. Generic as, White Sox. What does that mean? I don't know. And then you also have the Twins, like the Twin Cities. But like the Twins, that doesn't really make sense. And then you also have the Royals. That's the best you got. That's a pretty decent name. It's not awful. But Cleveland, you got some rebranding to do. You have that navy and red logo that you need to maintain. I don't think you can stray from that. You can't all of a sudden bust out like a yellow and pink and be like, yeah, we're the Starbursts or something like that. You can't do that. But yeah, people in Cleveland have a way better idea of that more than I do. And because I can't come up with any names by myself, I decided on my own volition to go to the website and kind of rate them. So we have the Cleveland Rockers. Similar to the Rocks, don't really like it. It is kind of unique, but it's not good. The Cleveland Rockets, you already have the Houston Rockets, but it's not really that special. I mean, they do have apparently a NASA research center, but I think it's a little bit copying the Cleveland Buckeyes to represent the Buckeyes. Ohio State. That's a pretty good one. The Cleveland Buckeyes. But maybe Ohio State would get a little bit mad. Maybe you kind of alienate the fan base. Like, no. Let's keep college and sports separately. The Buckeye State, well, that's what Cleveland is. The Cleveland Naps, it has reference to Napoleons, but I think that's kind of old. Nobody's going to get it. Nobody's got that old reference. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all this website had to offer. See, there are no really great names. I see the Guardians. That's pretty good. I see the logo concept for this. That's actually pretty sick. You know what? Let's come up with the top three right now. We have the Cleveland Guardians. That's my new favorite. The Cleveland Guardians, the Cleveland Tribe, and then the Cleveland baseball team because I don't think you can come up with anything better than those two names. And let's move on to the next segment. And that is about it for this episode of BNA Sports Podcast. I'm not sure when I'm uploading this. I want to say it's been a great year, but I don't want to I'm not sure how to phrase them. It's been a great year or it's going to be a great year in 2021. I may upload this January 1st, and that's two different messages of communication. But this segment is more for me. My goals. What are my goals for this year? So the beginning of this year, I wanted 1,000 subscribers by the draft and 2,000 subscribers by my birthday, which is September 7th, if you didn't know. I was almost born on 9999. I was born on 9799, which is interesting. But that's my claim to fame. I was almost born on 9999. But my goals for this year, I just want to continue being consistent. One of my goals last year was make a significant sports announcer move. If you don't know, I'm graduating college in April. And so that's going to be a big thing for me. I'm going to go into weather broadcasting and weather forecasting. But I definitely want to, at the end of this year, have a job, obviously. Hopefully, this is weird. I'm talking to myself in the future. I have a video that I uploaded. I have scheduled uploaded. Haven't watched it since. For me, right before I was about to leave for college. And I have a little message to myself. It's about a 6-minute video. I'm interested to see what's there. But my goals by the end of this year, I want to have a job, hopefully in a warm weather climate. Hopefully, I think right now I'm leaning towards being somewhere in North Carolina. It's such a weird thing. I remember getting into college, but I can't envision myself at the end of this year being in college when I was in 2017. I didn't get into University of Florida yet. I'm like, I don't know, am I going to be in Central Florida? I knew I was going to be in Florida. I'm like, where am I going to be? Maybe I was going to go to North Carolina. Maybe things would change. Maybe I wasn't even going to go to college. Maybe I would take a gap year and travel the world. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to be a year from now, but definitely when I get my first job, I want to continue BNA Sports. I really do. It's something that I want to do. Obviously, I'll post less, but honestly, I'm going to be alone by myself. I'm not going to have many friends. It's like weird. I'm like, when I join a new city, I'm going to have to start socializing, especially this COVID year. I'm pretty worried about how much I'm going to socialize, even a normal society. I'm not really a social person. In a social group, I'm social, but I'm not really a person to be like, okay, what are we doing today? I'm kind of a guy okay, we're doing this? Sure. And I kind of go along with the flow and try to make as much of it. I'm not really good at making plans. When I do make plans, I'm an awful planner. And this is a segment where I'm talking about myself. Well, you guys haven't tuned out yet. I'm not too sure how many people are going to listen, but I'm just doing this basically for me. And so by the end of this year, BNA Sports, hopefully I'm still uploading. Hopefully I'm still following the Giants. One of the things I wanted to do before the season was basically not pay attention to sports and be kind of like the caveman. Whoa, the Giants are this and that. Because it's hard for me to disconnect. I was thinking, just focus on school, those different things. So I was like, maybe I can do that. I will also want to start my BNA Sports running. I want to do that for the entire month of January. Every single day, I want to upload something of me just running a mile or a little bit more, probably 10 minutes, which is, about a mile and a quarter. And just me trying to motivate people to run because that's something I really enjoy doing. I run every single day. I've run 5,500 miles this year so far, and I'm not lying. That's what I've done so far this year. So I want to continue that. I want to grow that because I think running podcasts is a great idea. Why am I doing it? For therapy, also to encourage other people to run. And I'm not sponsoring and putting any ads on those. I put ads on my BNA Sports podcast. I've made 10 cents from it. So I'm trying to figure out what, just picturing where I'm going to be at the end of this year. The end of the year is reflection because it's a good milestone. Where am I going to be 364 days from now? Because it's not a leap year. It's 364 days. Where am I going to be? Am I going to be in Sioux City, South Dakota? I think that's the name of that city. Am I going to be in Uzbekistan? Hopefully not there. But yeah, it's been a great year. We started off the year with 575 subscribers. We are encroaching on 900. That's one of my main goals, 1,000 subscribers, so we can do more live streams. I'm not really a live stream guy, but yeah. And also this year, I want to make a significant sports announcer movement. I mentioned a little bit earlier in the segment. I wanted to kind of do that, local radio, that type of thing, be a sports broadcaster, but offer something unique. I was thinking you have to provide value. You have to do something that's different. Why am I doing BNA Sports? I'm doing it because I like the Giants. I'm also doing it to make people have emotions, to have opinions, to feel like they have a space where they can talk to somebody and basically scratch an itch of what's not happening. If somebody is uploading Giants film, then I won't do that. And I kind of enjoy doing it. I don't hate it, but it's not something I really, really enjoy doing. But if there's not enough Giants film out there, I'm like, there's a point that I want to make, I'll make it. I'm kind of flexible that way. I don't want to have a schedule where it's just Mondays is, Giants Mondays. Every single time I do that, I create expectations for myself. And then if I don't meet the deadline, I kind of get I didn't do that. I have a checklist that I do. I try to do things every single day, but I don't rip myself if I don't do it because, you can't get everything done in the day. Things come up. If my friends want to hang out, I'm like, okay, I'll hang out. I won't upload a video today. I used to make that and kind of just day by day, and then I feel like I have to upload the greatest video on earth. But nowadays, I've kind of matured in that way. Okay, not every day. The more you realize failure, the more you realize that people fail every single day, the more you realize, it's not that big of a deal. And yeah, so by the end of this year, as far as numbers goals, it's kind of hard to picture. But BNA Sports, I want to keep on doing that. I don't want to put numbers. I really don't this year because every single time I put on numbers, I feel like I'm disappointing. I just want to be in a good mental state. I want to have my health. I want you guys to be watching, listening, reviewing. I want to be a better person at the end of this year. Hopefully no pandemics. Any bold predictions? This is me talking out of my ass. Obviously, this whole segment has been any bold predictions for this year. As far as the World Series, I'm gonna go all four major sports. World Series, I think that the Yankees are going to win. Unbiased. The Yankees are going to win the World Series. The Knicks are going to win the NBA championship. No, I think it's going to be the Bucks this year. I'm not really going that bold, am I? Let's get a little bit bold. The NHL, the Florida Panthers are going to win that. Let's just say that. And then, because that sounds really cool if it does happen. And then for the NFL, the Super Bowl is in a month, so it's not like it's going to happen like that much. But we already done my Super Bowl prediction for the next year, I guess, and some NFL predictions from a year from now. But I'm going to say that I think the Packers are winning it this year. I really do. But yeah, this is kind of like my last thoughts of the year. It's like I'm dying. My last thoughts, my last contribution to humanity. But, it's the end of the year. It's a new year, 2021. Crazy stuff. But thank you guys for supporting, liking, following, all that good stuff. And here's to a 2021 where people are saying, this is the last thing I'll say. People are saying the 2021 is going to be the greatest year. And, we think 2020 is over. If you really had to wait to the new year to change something, there's something wrong. If you really had to be like, you think everything is going to be, all of a sudden, we're going to flip the switch and everything's going to be great. All of a sudden, you elected Joe Biden or something, or Donald Trump, and everything was going to change. Everything was going to flip like a light switch and everything is going to be better off. You're kind of thinking the wrong way. I think so. But you'll get more of this type of thinking on my BNA running talk. We're going to talk all month about these certain concepts and what we're doing and all the things, the channel updates, which is partially why I do it. I kind of like a logical train of thought and get people through my stream of my thinking, because crazy stuff goes on up there. But how long have we been speaking? 8 minutes. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of BNA Sports Talk. Have a great 2021. Have a great 2021. Hopefully, you've changed things so far in 2020. You're not just waiting for the new year to flip a switch. But if you are, I'll be running with you. But hope you guys again enjoy.